It is now blowing up about the female Gojo Decoress from Ichi the Witch. And I mean, to be fair, she does have that kind of energy. But when it comes to the lore of my mangas, who's taking that top spot? But for my stories, what I mean by Gojo is an incredibly charismatic but powerful character. Because I'm not going to sit here and say, who's the strongest person in the world? Because people like fighters and wizards are strong in their own right, but they are just vastly different. So immediately off the cut, we're just going to go ahead and nix Devil's Deal. As much as I love my Choco Skin main character, let's be real. The orc with the crossbows and kitchen knives ain't cutting it. And as much as I'll sing the praise of our femboy magician here, I mean, you can only do so much just flashbanging enemies. Our resident lizard-banging racist got his Crocs rained and roasted before the equally racist cult leader showed him what that mouth do. And so our beloved main character was one legal consultation away from having her soul literally ripped away. And is now spiritual partners in acquisitions to elder beings in order to just survive this fight. Praise Vossigo, my dude. And my Deep Stalker Crow series, which is like The Witcher X Bloodborne, Mercy can tank some damage. But the problem is she's absolutely inexperienced and relies on brains in order to beat her enemies rather than just pure power. And even then, she still gets worked over. And that leads us to Bathoria. She is one half of the Crow sisters, the strongest crow hunters of the Deep Stalker Crow house. She has an absolute reputation for being that lady. And don't get me wrong, I personally think she could beat Gojo in a fight, because without a doubt, she definitely has the regeneration to be able to tank most hits. But that stoicism, she ain't got that energy. Which leads me to the other Crow sister, Valona. And that's because while I will say Bathoria definitely probably has more physical components to her than Valona, she's just on the same level as her. Valona has that cocky energy. Imagine walking up to a great fae and saying, yo, I'm gonna make a skin scoot to you, and then boop, titty flip, and finishing off with being like, yeah, you got a small bust, so I'm gonna have to blow that chest out. Then get your head blown off. And then, at the end of it all, not be even that bothered with it as your head grows back. I mean, she's absolutely more vulgar than Gojo. She's definitely, like the other two, all up in her ego. And the thing is, she does end up having the power to back up all that confidence. Like we see multiple times, she's willing to destroy her entire body just to put her opponent in as much pain as possible. Because humiliation is just as good of a weapon as destruction. While I'm leaving out all of the gods and all the other lore figures, there's one god that we do need to pay attention to here. And that's Homer. Because you know who this is. We got Lady Petals, the tall, tatted up orc lady who absolutely committed a war crime. And all I really got to say about how strong she is, for those of you who don't know, this is 6.6 Texases worth of destruction that she did in the first Divine War of the Great Collection. This was all one attack that she did. She burned the equivalent to half the continental United States with one attack. And the thing about it is she's got a little bit of humor with it, but can play it off kinda. But I definitely do think that she has a lot more emotional intelligence than Gojo. But that also goes into how Gojo was raised and his feeling of isolation because of his power. Lady Petal grew up in a group of her peers that was later eradicated, that led to her becoming the world's strongest elementalist. When we say strong, I'm not talking by a little bit. She could take on the strongest masters of fire, electricity, earth, water, and wind all at once and still beat them. It was that tragedy that led to her strength versus Gojo, who was born with that strength. And you don't have to believe my word for it. Just go to the bio or description and then read them all for free. I literally have them all up for free for you. Or if you want, you can grab a physical copy of The Night of Slaughter or Devil's Deal while copies last.